Assalamu alaikum and good morning. My name is Abhisra Mohsen and I'm a student of chemical engineering at METU Ankara. Today I'll be talking about ways to prevent polar meltdowns. Yes, Sophie just welcomed a polar ice bear on her doorstep. How's this possible? This is possible because the ice have started to melt at the Arctic. The winter of 2019-2020 broke the records of warm days recorded in the past 130 years in the climate observation. In many regions of the planet, this time is associated with children playing in the snow, skiing, but in the midst of January, spring flowers bloomed. And this is just the beginning. The temperatures will be rising deadly, and in the areas where temperatures rarely used to rise above zero, ice have started to melt down. This means that the glaciers that have remained indestructible for so many years have finally started to melt. How will this turn out, and what awaits the planet if these poor ice caps finally melt? Today I'll be talking about 3 ways to prevent polar meltdowns. Number 1 being increase their thickness, combine artificial icebergs, and stop climate change. So why is melting of polar regions a problem? This is a graph exported from National Show and Ice Data Center, and it was published in 2017. The x-axis varies from 1980 to 2016, while the y-axis shows the area of ice that is present in the Arctic. And as you can see, from 1980 to 2016, there is a steep decline in the area of ice that is present in the Arctic. Now, what does it mean? This means that it has been endangering for so many living species. Dr. Peter Vinson, the director of WWF's Arctic program, who has been studying the polar regions for the past 25 years, reports that polar vortices, increased heat waves, and unpredictability of weather caused by the ice floes are already causing damage to the global food chains. And furthermore, about 4 million people call Arctic their home. So, we cannot put the world back the way it is, but we can fix a part of the problem at least. Number 1 way is to increase the thickness of the ice. University of Arizona proposed a seemingly simple solution: manufacture more ice. The proposal consists of collecting ice below the glacier through pumps driven by wind power to spread it over the upper ice caps so that it will freeze, thus strengthening the consistency of the ice. They calculated that 1.4 meters of seawater pumped to the frigid surface during the long Arctic winter night lets it freeze more readily, and then it produces an additional 1 meter of the snow above the surface. This would help the Arctic to do what it already does, make more ice. So basically, this pump is going to collect water from the beneath and bring it above, and it's going to layer it over the ice caps, and it's going to thicken the the glaciers. Number 2 method is building artificial icebergs. If planting more trees could replenish forests and remove carbon dioxide from the air, then we could also repopulate the Arctic with ice. Indonesian architect Faris Raja won an award for his project Refreeze the Arctic, which consists of collecting water from melted glaciers, desalinating it, and then refreezing it to create large hexagonal icebergs. Thanks to their shape, these icebergs could then interlock and combine to create frozen masses. According to the team behind the project, the hexagonal shape may encourage the icebergs to interlock with one another and form frozen large ice blocks. And number 3 method is to prevent the climate change. In order to curtail climate change and save the glaciers, it is indispensable that the carbon dioxide emissions should be reduced by 45% over the next decade, and that they fall to zero by 2020. Now, how can one do this? One can do this by moving to renewable energy resources. So use solar power, wind power, geothermal, biomass could be one of the solutions, and switching to sustainable transportation that is eco-friendly and does not release a lot of carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases. Or we could also lower the consumption of fossil fuels, and lowering combustion of fossil fuels would mean less carbon dioxide emissions. And also we can use the waste management and recycling method, so it can also take in account of our consumption methods basically. So in conclusion, I've talked about 3 methods to prevent polar meltdowns, prevent climate change, building artificial icebergs, and increasing the thickness of the ice. So I hope you liked my presentation. Thank you for listening.